Moses.
Hey, sister friends, it's Tanya Burke, your host of We Own the Table, and we have another great episode for you today in season one. That's right, season one. And last episode, we had Keisha Puckett here, and she was just dropping so much great knowledge. She was just dropping it. It was just rain and all that great information. So our conversation was so great we had to continue on, so it was some information that we just didn't want you to miss, because I'm telling you, this tea is what you want to you want some of this tea. Okay, and it's not even piping hot, it's like iced tea, because that's what I like, southern iced tea. So stick around and see what Keisha Puckett has to say. All righty. Hey, sister friends. This is Tanya Burke. We're back with We Own the Table. And I told y'all we was coming back for a part two, because that last conversation we had was just way. I mean, there was some nuggets being dropped. And I'm not talking about chicken nuggets.
Right.
There was some nuggets being dropped that we had to come back, and continue on this conversation, deuces, part two, to make sure that, because we just don't want to miss anything in here. So we have our sister friend Keisha Puckett here, and as I mentioned before, she is the creative director of Pink Icing Marketing and Branding, and the founder of KP Media TV. And I really want Keisha to really talk about and focus on this the TV piece, this whole KP media piece. We touched on it briefly in our last conversation, part one of this. So I suggest you go and check that out if you didn't. But it's very important, and we talked a little bit about how this is the time for that. But if you can go into, a little bit more about the whole, Pink Icing and KP Media TV, because I think it's so important on all the things that you're doing, and especially that TV piece.
Yeah. So Pink Icing is my marketing and branding agency. That's kind of where this whole thing started. So it was all about, we talked a little bit in part one, go back if you haven't watched that one, about branding and about.
And before you go on, I've always wanted to ask you this. How did you come up with the name Pink Icing? Because that is just so, like, every time I think of that, or I see your logo, or I see your branding, I just get all happy. You say Pink Icing, and I'm a foodie, so I love food, and I especially love sweets. So every time I see Pink Icing, like, this whole, I feel so good, because it's like, oh, we finna eat some cake.
So you see how all that emotion comes into play? That's what I want people to feel when it comes to seeing my brand. Like, you feel good about me showing up.
I was like, ooh, I think I just looked at her logo, and I think I gained about 5 pounds just looking at the logo, because that's how I feel, like cupcakes. That's what I think of.
I know, it's funny too. There was this one guy, I want to say, what was it, last year, went to an event, and he wasn't my target audience. My target audience back then was mainly women business owners. And he goes, pink icing, pink icing, pink icing. He just remembered the name and connected. And he, like you said, that kid in the candy store kind of feeling came over him. And that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, the pink, it's a two-part. The pink is like red. So that represents my love for marketing, for women entrepreneurship. So that's the pink. And then the icing is the branding. So that's the pretty stuff. It's like what goes on the cake, what goes on the cupcake, the thing that kind of brings you sit on a table and like, ooh, what is that? That's what I wanted to bring to the table with pink icing. And back when I first launched it, we did a lot of events, like a ton of events. And so that was one of the things that will hook people in, because they would see that and like, wait, what is this going on over here? Like, what's happening? And that gave that initial curiosity. So we start talking about brand to the point where one business owner, her name is Brandy Cocoa of B Cocoa. She has an apothecary, and she actually created like a custom fragrance. And I smelled it. I was like, oh, this smells so good. And she goes and smells it. She said, this smells just like pink icing. And I'm like, what does pink icing smell like? So that is the goal, like even with brand period, is to make sure that you're connecting as many senses as possible, because then people are going to remember you. And so
I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about connecting all of the senses. That is so true. That is so true.
And that was a strategy, like for anybody out there that I know we can't really do a lot of events right now, but the more senses you can get involved, like with your experiences, the more you're going to be unforgettable. And so like I had events where like people would show up and they say, I don't know, even though this is like a networking, like it was called networking socials, networking social, your networking events are so different than any other. And it's like, because I focused on getting all your senses involved. One lady, she was crying at an event that we had. She never forgot about it. It was a good cry, but she never forgot about it. And it's like, yeah, that's what actually gets people really connected. So when you start thinking about brand, think about getting their senses involved. What do they smell? What do they hear when they see you? What do they see? And the more you can get them connected to that, they'll be connected to you.
Well, I'm glad that lady had a good cry, because I was going to say, was it one of the ugly cries, you know?
Yeah, so that's kind of where, you know, that came into play. And I did quite a bit of teaching and stuff the first year of pink icing. And a lot of what I taught was this concept about, well, high visibility. And so, and what that meant as it relates not only to the visual brand, but like my messaging, how I showed up, the consistency in that. So everyone pretty much knew what to expect from me. Like if I have clients right now that have paid me in full for services December 2019 that says, oh yeah, Keisha, I'll get to you, you know, because they trust. And so it's building all around that is kind of, you know, what I did with the marketing agency, but then also everything that I taught was all about high visibility, taking that initial thing and then making sure you're out there, whether it's on social media, which was primarily like what we more so focused on, and then live events. At that time, we did a lot of live events, a couple virtual events. But now this year, because of the whole pandemic and just everything that's going on, it's kind of elevating from the message I was already telling. See, the consistency is still there. Even though I'm innovating, it's like I was already talking about high visibility. I was already doing virtual events before a whole bunch of people were doing virtual events. And so now you're coming into this space and it's like, oh, KP Media TV, that's now still stemming from the message of high visibility. So that's how it all connects.
And so you brought up a great point about the whole, because now we're like, everything is virtual. Yep. Everything is virtual. And, you know, even with the events, and you see so many different types of platforms. You know, we've had Zoom and different things for a while. You know, it used to be GoToMeetings was the only thing you can go to, and then we had Zoom, and we was all excited with that. And then everybody jumped on this bandwagon of being able to, you know, so you can broadcast whatever it is that you want to say and do your meetings or whatnot, and do it in a platform to where you never have to leave, you know, never have to leave the room. And, you know, I was sharing with a good friend of mine the other day that I was listening to Les Brown, and he is a world known speaker, great speaker, great orator.
Oh yeah.
And he talked about how, for years he's made millions of dollars in just speaking. That's his thing, is speaking.
Wow.
And he talked about how with this pandemic, that hasn't changed. Even though he's no longer traveling, and he actually said it's actually a more of a benefit now, because now he can speak across the world in his pajamas, in his house, and still make $500,000 for a speaking engagement.
Yep.
And doesn't have to go and deal with passports and going to the airport and drivers and all that
Hotels.
hotels and going here. And now he can speak at even more engagements because he doesn't have to do the travel. So now his only travel is I can click this button off and then click this button on. And I was just amazed at that, because I was like, he's so right. Like, and he was saying seize the moment of
Yes.
seize the moment of technology and use it to your advantage. And so that's why I think this, the KP Media TV, and having that audience, and having, having that technology at your hands to be able to get that message out, and do it in a way that it's going to build your brand, and build the following, as we say, and to where, just like with this man, you could sit in your living room and be broadcasting to millions across the world, just sitting, like I'm sitting right here talking to you, and we're having this broadcast, and nobody know if I got on pants or not.
Right.
We've seen them moments where people that have, what I'm saying? Like, I could be straight pajama right up under here. I'm not, though. I'm not.
Right.
I come fully prepared. But I could be. And
It's true. Yeah.
and still bring in millions of dollars. And that's just important for people to wrap that around in their mindset, of getting out of the thought of the whole brick and mortar.
Yep.
We have to move away from the whole concept of brick and mortar schools. We have to get away from the whole concept of I got to be in front of somebody in order for them to get, to benefit from what I have.
No.
We got to move away from that. And I think that your platform is a great way for that to happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly, that was exactly the reason why I felt it necessary. All of the reasons you just said. And then I also saw this space, like I'm really into like looking at things, even pre-COVID, looking at things from a different lens, where it's like, where are the gaps and holes? I'm not necessarily trying to be where everyone else, is at. I'm not trying to be every other marketing agency, every other brand. I do things quite different than even a lot of marketing agencies. So when I looked at KP Media TV and was kind of birthing this idea of, TV streaming and being able to have, network hosts come on and do shows like you're doing here, Tanya. And so when I looked at all of that, it was like, one thing was the idea of it during a really amazing time to do it, a bad time, but also an amazing time for innovation and all of that, right? But then what I also found in that gap, in that hole, is a whole segment of not even just the business community, content creators in general, that were missing access to it. Like they had, when people say, oh yeah, I'm coming out with a show, it's like YouTube, right? It's the free platform, YouTube. You can watch it from your phone. That's it. They're not having the experience to be able to go in. Like I love some of the shows that we have, going in the living room, watching it, laughing. My son, my 12-year-old, he laughed like, Mom, you really enjoy this? And I'm like, yes, I am. And I have my cell phone. And if I want to engage socially, I can engage socially right there from my recliner and watch TV. And it's a different experience. And it's something that a lot of content creators don't have access to. And so I feel like it's really identifying, when I was able to identify that gap in that hole, like it's creating something around that, because there hasn't been anything really built, like that. Everything you see, even when you look at TV streaming, You see like, the Hulu, the Netflix, and you see like other networking types of apps, TV apps that have your shows, but you're going to still see the celebrities that you've seen on ABC, NBC, different channels. But there wasn't anything for us. We the amazing visionaries and the leaders out here like crushing it, and content create full-blown documentaries being done, independent filmmakers on YouTube. They can't have access to distribution, and I did not see an answer for that. And so that was kind of the one thing that really caught my attention. Not so much it was a pivot, yes, because it was a great time because of COVID, but it also answered to another issue as it related to high visibility and the authority and credibility you would have by coming into the TV space. There's a couple content creators that have shared, like, before, even on social media. Well, there's a couple things that I found like really interesting about this. On social media, they found their engagement to have increased after having their show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after having their show, it was like no one was really listening, and it was like deaf ears. And then all of a sudden, I'm announcing that I have the show, and now what I have to say is now all of a sudden important. And it goes back to that branding, that authority, that credibility. When there is brand recognition, like when you're talking about Roku, Apple TV, there's brand recognition already done for you there. You're literally just leveraging what is already been like, the foundation that's already been placed out there. And so being able to connect with that psychology wise, like when people see that, they're like, oh, well, wait a minute, you have a show on what? And it's not like you're saying you have a show on YouTube. So that gets people's attention because it's so different than what they're seeing. And then the brand recognition of saying Apple TV, Roku, that's like, oh, wait a minute, this is something really different.
It legitimizes everything.
Absolutely it does, because it's like, first of all, I know that we're not going to be the last one doing something like this or similar, but there's not very many that's doing it. And so when they look even at the streaming platform, you can't really find anybody really kind of doing what we're doing, a very small percentage. It has not boomed into that yet. So the people, when our app is on, like if you're tapping in Apple TV or Roku, our app is next to Netflix. Our app is next to Hulu. Our app, so it hasn't been oversaturated like social media. So it's an opportunity. Once again, we're back to that, for not only like the network, but also for content creators and network hosts to really leverage what you have, because everyone can't say they have that. The other thing I wanted to mention too is, even when it comes to the content that our network hosts put out as far as their video content on their social platforms that's connected to their TV shows on the actual network, they found their views have been insane. Their engagement on that, they're like, I never had numbers like this. And that is their social media. So you have something that is completely kind of disconnected from what they're used to doing, that's fueling that too. So you're getting benefits on both sides of it. So that's what's enjoyable for me to see too, with the growth. And even in like within our first month, like there was the stats was like over 17,000 video views just in 1 month, and like over 2,000 show views, or not show views, over 2,000 views, channel views. And so it's telling you where we're going. It's telling you.
And that's just terrific. That's great. And especially those numbers, that you're getting in, hitting out the gate, so just when more people start getting wind of, oh, this, and seeing, oh, this, they're coming on to the programming and they're seeing, oh, this one here is my favorite show, or this one over here, or this this host or whatnot, or this particular show. I just think that, like I said, this is just the right time for this to happen. And then another thing that I wanted to point out that's so important about this platform is oftentimes, and especially people of color, and especially Black women, it is very difficult for us to get on mainstream, and if you do, you have somebody, strong arming your content, to the point where you can't even be who you are. What you initially came to the table with as your idea and your vision and what you want to do gets chopped and diced and you know, by some of these big executives or whatnot of these networks, to where it doesn't even look like you anymore.
Right. You're like not content.
Yeah.
Content created.
Yeah, you know, you blessed, you might get a little check and your credits roll, you know, your name roll in the credits, but outside of that, it's like you got, you know, you got lost in the sauce some kind of way. And that's what I love about this platform, is someone can be as creative as they want to be, you know, and have their message and it not get messed with. You know, that it doesn't get strangled and lose its life before it can even really get started.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is the biggest difference between like us versus them, because what we are to you is your media distribution partner. So we don't own your content, like what you're doing, what you're putting out in the world. You know, that's not our role. Our role is to partner with you for the media distribution to make sure that it's able to get out on global TV. So that's our role in it. So that, you, like you said, that makes it a lot nicer when, because even with, I know YouTube, you know, there is a lot of content creators that are having issues over there now, like just, you know, different things. And so I think with us, like kind of having, you know, our role being very defined as far as being, we're your media distribution, it really opens you up to be creative and not to just lose yourself or have someone chop you up so badly that you're like non-existent in your own content that you created. So I think that's what, you know, really makes it, you know, different for us too. And again, another amazing opportunity that most people wouldn't have.
Definitely wouldn't have, because I don't know too many people who have, you know, TV networks knocking their door down and saying, hey, put, you know, bring this on. And yes, we see these YouTube sensations who got started on YouTube and then they're, you know, oh, this person got the show, they were on YouTube, you know, Issa Rae is one of them, you know. So many people have, you know, you see some of these folks, but that's not a reality for everyone.
No.
Everyone is just not, you know, going to make it to the to those big networks. And so and I also believe that this is a platform for people like you're gonna get seen. And and you have, there's nothing like having creative control and control of the narrative and control of the money, you know, when it comes to your particular programming and your content. And it's just sad that I've seen that happen so many times where people go or they get signed up and they get shelved and
Yeah.
it never reaches to people. Period.
Yeah, and here's another thing that's really good for, you know, when you kind of look at all the opportunities that you have, like the fact that you have this opportunity where your content's going to live, your live streaming is going to be there, your VOD channel is going to be there with this library of content that you've created over the course of, you know, months and years and all of that. And so you always have something, if you're like pitching, you know, some other opportunities, you have something. And it's not just saying, you can go to my Facebook page. The Facebook group is facebook.com/, you know, you're not, it's like, no. I'm here on this network and this is where you can see my stuff. I live stream every week at this particular day and time. I have VOD content you can take a look at. So it even opens you up to other opportunities that you might want to have, where if you didn't have that type of platform, you know, already, it just makes it even more difficult to kind of go through that process. So you're getting that opportunity to do that too, for those that are even looking for even more, like more opportunity and more of what they want to do. The other thing you mentioned, which is a really good point, as far as, you know, being seen, you know, because again, that visibility piece is a big piece for me. A lot of people, whether you have hundreds of thousands of followers, tens of thousands, or millions, these people are coming to watch you. You are giving them an elevated experience in order to do that. Those those views and those, that community and that tribe of people are coming to see you in the network. And so each and every network host that we have, coming in and being a part of that, it's like a collective thing that happens. So all of that traffic, and all of those people coming in and kind of checking out, what's going on. And, that ends up also benefiting other network hosts, which is another really good opportunity as far as the visibility piece. And then with us, the last thing I wanted to mention with the marketing agency, since we have this more so unique, we have the media, but remember, Pink Icing, we're a marketing agency. So I look at KP Media TV as almost like a client. And so when it comes to like what we need to do for KP Media TV on the marketing and branding side of that, and what type of campaigns do we need to put together for influencers, for reaching out to filmmakers and producers, to getting other content in and that exposure, we're going to also be looking at it from that lens as well as a marketing agency. So it's just a nice type of marry between agency and marketing agency and media, and then having our network hosts and content creators benefit not off of their own efforts, but just off of the efforts of everyone, including the marketing agency.
Yeah, that's that's dynamic. And you're not really seeing a whole lot of that, not right now.
Mm-mm.
And by the time some of these folks really catch on to it, it's you already on the wave.
Yeah.
They are just trying to paddle out to shore.
Right.
So it is, it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other people, and you ladies out here, my sister friends, there's enough room for all of us at the table. So, and I'm saying this because, and I mentioned before, I can't stand resource hoggers. I can't stand people who have resources and then won't share because they want to be the only one. I'm not trying to be the only one out there with a TV show. As you said, I cannot be duplicated. I cannot be happy because Tanya Burke is Tanya Burke, and I bring me to the table. So it's okay for you to want to say, don't sit up, because we do this a lot. Oh, I'm not going to do that because so-and-so is doing it. So I'm not going to go out there and do that. Honey, we need you out here too, because we need as many of us on these platforms as possible, because we all have something to say. We all have a message and it needs to be out there. So I am encouraging you, all of you, you've been sitting up here on YouTube every day. You giving out content on YouTube, because I see some folks, they out here every day, like clocking in on YouTube doing some things. And if you can expand that, to where you're globally, and you're not having, to deal with some of the parameters that you have to deal with on some of these social media sites, because, I done been in Facebook jail, so I know what that's about.
I know what that's like. I've been on that vacation before.
Yeah, I done been locked up in Facebook jail, and can't put out content when I want to put it out, or it's being censored or cut or told, oh, you can't say this and do that. I've been there and done that, and for something that didn't need it. So, so if you have this opportunity to have a platform to have your voice, and to get it out to people, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, I like where you were going to with the collective, and I kind of mentioned that too. Like, there's enough to go around. So yeah, don't be a resource hog, or don't feel like, oh, I can't do it because she's doing it, or I'm in a similar industry, but you're not her. You're you.
Exactly.
Because we've already talked about.
I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's exactly
that right now. My mama told me when I was a little girl, ain't nobody else like you. I don't think she meant it in a good way though. Because she always said it when I got in trouble. But there's nobody else like, I took it for the good. I took it and turned it for the good. And there isn't anyone else out there like me.
It's so true though. People need to get that. And when they start talking about branding, marketing, getting out there, visibility, they need to get that point. That's the very first point they need to get, because there's too much of this crashing, scratching and clawing, and holding back information.
Girl, shut your lips. Shut your lips on that one. Oh my goodness.
It's too much.
I ain't even gonna say crabs in the barrel because it's even gotten worse to the crabs in the barrel. It's in the bucket. I mean, it's like for real.
I claw your eyes out and move you in the nose and throw you under the bus.
Girl, if you saying all in the face, it's like, really?
I got you like
you ducking and dodging and all of that. Like for real though. But there's enough for all of us. There's enough for all of us. And like I said, everybody's message is different. Yeah. Everybody's message is different. Share some of the messages and the content creators and the hosts that you have that's on KP Media.
Yeah, so I like where you were saying that, like everybody's message and even perspective is different. Like you can line up a bunch of marketing people, but we may have different perspectives because for me, even when I think about, KP Media TV, it's about community. So not only am I looking at it from the marketing agency standpoint, the media visibility, everything we talked about, but I'm also looking at it as a community of people coming together and to support one another. Because that's what's gonna create the long-term, that's the legacy part when you can build community around it. And that's too, when you start thinking about brand, how we were mentioning that, anytime you can tie that tribe, that community element around it, then you're solid with whatever it is that you're doing. So, but right now, who we have a little bit of everything. We have we have about 8 different TV categories. So we have business, we have empowerment and leadership, we have the foodie channel for all our chefs and our cooks and all of that stuff.
And people who like to eat.
Yeah, and people that like to eat, yes. Mm-hmm. So we have health and wellness. If you're into, music and entertainment.
Health and wellness.
So all our health and wellness people, we have that. So we have about 8 different categories, and then we have the live streaming. And so with those, for the most part, right about now, we have about half of those categories where we have network hosts in them. Like we have a chef that he does a show every week. You're here with Tanya and she's doing her show. We have another network host. She does she's like the #1 money magnet activator. She does a show about wealth building and attracting money and things like that. We even have more of the personal development type shows. Like we have one show, the TIO show, Transformation Inside Out. And that network host, her name is Shakira Singh. She's actually taking it from a personal space of, she tells her story from going from very, very successful 7-figure income, income earner, and then kind of going into this place and dealing with life over the course. I'm not going to give it all up. You'll have to go check her out. But going from that to, to really just dealing with life, having to go with the life challenges that happen and being in a different space financially and all these different things, and then building up from there. And so she kind of shares her personal story about transformation and, how she transformed inside, and obviously how, you begin to manifest those things outside of that. We have beauty and fashion. A lot of, pretty much most of our categories, I want to say probably about 60% of our categories actually have network hosts. We'll have new shows debuting this month as well as next month. And yeah, we're just kind of, coming along with just bringing in amazing content and network hosts that just want to share what it is that they have to offer. So we're excited about what we're seeing.
And it's also an opportunity, like documentaries and docuseries.
Mm-hmm. Documentaries. Actually, as a matter of fact, KL Jones, she has a docuseries. She hasn't she has her past episodes on her VOD channel, but she has a docuseries called Beauty Behind the Brand. And so she's actually on hiatus right now, but she's coming back fairly soon. I want to say she's coming back this month or next month. And so, if you have a docuseries, a documentary, if you're an independent filmmaker, you have a 2-hour film that you want to put out there, those type of situations, TV shows, music. We also can do events on there. So like if there's virtual events, if you're a musician and you want to get a band together, or you have a band already and you want to be able to reach your fans, that's a way that you can do it too. Like full blown, have mini concerts and things, and then we can push those out over the network, and they'll have global access to that. So you'll have global reach, and they'll be able to connect with you in that way. So there's lots of opportunity, and it's really for anyone right now, anyone that has a business, a message, a movement, that's a content creator, that's
a ministry,
that is just beginning, that's a pro, like even if you're just beginning, because sometimes people will see this like, oh my God, wait a minute, I don't know this and that, we try to be supportive in every area that we feel that people will be challenged in, because we don't want it to be a situation where someone's message doesn't come out, their amazing message, because they're concerned with all of the tech and what they have to have, kind of back to what we were saying before. And so another thing that we provide all of our network hosts is VIP training. And that literally, it's more of our membership vault. It's safe, it's self-paced. It's like, snackable little videos that goes through like some virtual production kind of things.
And now you're making me hungry talking about snacks.
I know, right?
Snackable little.
It's that pink icing thing.
Yeah, now my stomach growls.
It growl, right? So we have that. And then a part of that training too, we have marketing and monetization, because, again, it's about, yes, we have the agency pushing out, but we also want you to leverage the platform. So if there's any way we can think like you can make some coins, having that your spot on the network, we want to make sure that you're looking at those things and you're seeing the gaps in the hole in your own industry that you can feel. So we're doing all of that.
Yes, because there's opportunities for sponsorship and all types of stuff that people can do with their own show, own documentary, own movie, whatever it is that they're doing, to where, like you said, that can open up revenue for them.
Absolutely.
Recurring revenue.
Absolutely.
Which is important. And I mean, this is, like I said, there aren't very many things out there, many platforms out there that's offering this type of opportunity, and it's not this cumbersome, difficult situation to get started. Like you said, Lord knows I am no techie. Okay, it's not. I got kids that are techie, but I am not techie.
Right,
and when you got kids that are techie, they ain't trying to help.
Right.
So
they frustrated, like, oh.
Talk to him. I think you need to go and talk to the what they call at Best Buy. You need to go talk to them. Oh, wait a minute. Why I got kids and software engineers and cybersecurity experts, and I gotta go to Best Buy to get help? Okay, I see how we doing this. I see how we are doing this. Okay. But really, if you can go on Zoom, if you can, StreamYard, Zoom, any of those type of platforms, I mean, hey, if you can do Facebook Live, you can really, you can, transition it over to what it is that you could do, and you don't have to have all that fancy to start off. You don't have to have all this fancy equipment or ever have it if you choose not to, and then if you want to build it up later on, that's fine. But, they give you a lot of options on how you can, at whatever level that you want to do and have your show, how you can do that. And a lot of the stuff that was mentioned was like free, How many of us aren't walking around with smartphones? And I'm going to tell you right now, if you under 70, and you walk around with a flip phone, we need to have a conversation.
Right.
We need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You under 70 and you got a flip phone, and I'm saying under 70 because I'm being generous. But if you're under 70 and you got a flip phone, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's another show.
That's another whole show. That's for another whole day and everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is true. You don't have to be super techy, because that is a question that, we get when we have a new network host thinking about coming on board or applying to come on board. And no, you don't. If you can live stream, you can do it. The tech part comes on the back end of what we do to push it out. But that's not something you have to even worry about. All you need to be able to do is do a live stream.
See,
If
you
you
ain't got to worry about nothing. Ain't got to worry about nothing. Ain't got to worry about nothing. Nothing at all. Just show up. Show up and bring the content. That's and you have that already, because I'm seeing you all out there giving away your stuff for free, out here venting and doing all of that, and you could be reaching a larger audience. That's all I'm saying, is you can be reaching more people. More people can be hearing your message. And we need that right now. We have so many people who are out there who really, I'm not saying that people, no one should have not have a message. I'm not trying to censor anyone, but some people need to be censored. Some people need to be gagged on some of this stuff they out here saying. I'm just being real. And these folks are like all over the place, they on YouTube, Facebook, here, major networks and all of that. So we have to counter, a lot of that negative and stuff that's not true. We need people who are out there who are speaking truth and light. And it can't just be me. It can't just be Keisha. It just can't be the few people who are out there who are pushing, and promoting, the goodness.
Yeah.
But we got too many of these people out here that's lying and spreading, and I refuse to say the other word, these stories that's not real.
Right.
I'm not promoting that brand.
Right.
But we really do need more people out here with the right messaging.
Yes. Yeah, and that's part of our focus too. What's nice about like even our outreach, we have a portion of the agency work that we do is to go and find talent, because that's what I was finding. I'm like, there's all this distraction and negativity, and then ever so often I would come across somebody that has an amazing message, and just like it just hits me here, and people are just like, oh my gosh, like, but it's like almost like they're just buried in all of the negative things that are going on, and no one gets to hear that. And I'm like, I'm in the position where we can extract that to where there could be a place where you can go and you can get this without having to search like a needle in a haystack, amongst all of this stuff that, is really, bad for mental health. It's just like, and all other kind of health. So that's another thing that, is really exciting to really pursue that part of it too in our own outreach, because there's one thing, us, talking about it and doing like marketing, advertising and stuff around, finding the right network host or the right host for the network. But it's also an active effort, like to reach out to people that we see that we will want to be a part of it, because they have those types of elements that we're looking for, because we need to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. It's so true. And I can't preach that enough.
Yeah.
I can't preach it enough, because a lot of where we are today in this world is because we haven't had enough of the right people with the right messaging out there.
Yep.
And that's got to change.
It has to. It can't be so hard to find. Like I want to say I came to this realization probably a couple months, maybe a month after we launched the network. And I was like coming across like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, the message that this person has. And I'm like, who are they? And why don't we know more about you? Why are you buried? Why are you, why isn't this getting out? I mean, we know why, because all the negative and ugly energy and the madness is always going to push out, things like that. But
I'm so glad you said that, because that's the one thing about the KP Media platform. You go to what you want to. You want to go see this, you go see this. See, with these other platforms, especially the social media platforms, you are kind of forced to see this wishy-washy stuff. You trying to go to the person who you typically go and watch. But then in the meantime, on your timeline, on your feed, whatever you want to call it, okay, then you got all this other nonsense popping up and you like, why this person coming up? I ain't asked for this. I don't want. And then they talk about these algorithms and all of that stuff. And then let's say you accidentally, you saw something in clickbait. They had this cute little picture and you click on it and it's something you totally not interested in, some demonic or evil or just nasty. And now you got that mess scrolling on your timeline because you looked at that one nasty.
And then you have it following you all over the internet.
Thank you. Now you didn't clicked out of that. You didn't went to Google and Googled and heard and seen what you got going on over there in YouTube, and now they sending you the same kind of stuff. You like, what in the nuts and fruits is going on here?
And that's when the advertising world, you know, it's really evolved into that. So now it's kind of encroaching on like our experience as viewers and participants in media, because now we have to look at all that because they have to put it out because advertisers are paying for it to follow you all over the place and to do all this. But then it takes from what we really want to see. And then in times like this, where the messages are so like insane and so toxic and so everything under the heavens, you don't want to see that stuff all the time. You know, you
and I have talked about that. How this stuff gets too heavy on your mind, too heavy on your heart. And if you are in a creative space, you don't need to be surrounded around that stuff all the time. All the time. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I can't turn no device on at this point. Because all of this nonsense and this frickety frackety, it keeps jumping up on my timeline. And it's like, you know, how you turn this nonsense off?
This is another reason why that goes back to, which I feel like is another reason why all of this that's happening is going to power streaming, is because you have more control with streaming. You know, it's different from, you don't have to catch every commercial. You can opt out and pay a little bit more not to have commercials. And if you do want to have minimal, like I'll typically on a couple of the apps that I have, I'll have a couple like the minimal commercial subscriptions because I kind of want to at least know what's kind of going on in the world, like, oh, what is new? Yeah. But you can minimize that so much where you're not even catching a lot of the blow by, unless you literally say, I'm going to go here and I want to see. But so that's another thing to look at as far as how people are shifting their way they're consuming TV and the way they're consuming media with this whole shift into streaming that's happening. And even when you look at the trends and, you know, you look at the numbers and what these platforms the media platforms are doing, that's where the money is. They're investing in that because they see like, oh yeah, this is going to be a big thing. This is like, it's already a big thing, but then it's just only going to increase. So.
Exactly. And, you know, my husband Jason, we were just talking about how some of these little off the wall apps that was playing these old school, you know, movies from back in the day, Gilligan's Island and the Monsters and the Three Stooges and all that stuff. And now they're playing all these movies and doing great since COVID happened. And I say, yeah, because advertisers saw an opportunity. They saw an opportunity. Okay, we can go over here. And because people are at home, they're not going anywhere, they're streaming, and these people have a free platform. So we're going to advertise on here. And by them doing that, then that expanded that company's ability to be able to bring more programming. You know, and so it was a win-win for both. And I'm just saying that, you know, with a lot of these different, you know, program, these apps or whatnot, these companies who were providing, and it was like minimal stuff that they were providing. It was like you catch every now and then you want to watch an old James Bond movie or something. That's where you go. Now, you know, now they're trying to compete with Hulu and Netflix. And I said, look, I see you over there, Tubi. Yeah. I see you over there, Hulu. I see you over there.
Well, you know what? It was the timing for them too. And that's just, I mean, it was the timing for them. There was not as much competition in that space. It's almost like I compare it to, like, I use this for several different analogies, but like Pampers and Loves. Like, you know how they say Pampers is the first child and then Loves is the second on down, third and fourth. Like, Loves is fine with being second place and they're fine with that, making all of the money that they make.
By the time the third one comes, we using Albertsons brand. Okay. Kroger. Okay.
Or Kroger.
Yes. Great
So
value.
Right. So that's your Voodoo and your is it Tubi? Is that
Tubi?
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what? And they're gonna be highly successful and are highly successful too. It's just like you gotta be able to seize opportunities when you see them. And our network, it's like the content creators, that's what they're doing. They're seizing an opportunity as well during a time where it just makes sense. It just makes all the sense in the world. Like, why wouldn't you establish yourself in this space? Because you're going to get a benefit now, but then you're also going to build something. So we're talking about that brand, because that happens over time, and it's going to be that much greater later. One of our network hosts, she even mentioned she actually was there was another streaming network she was on prior to, and she was actually paying considerably more being subscribed with them, but she was locked into a contract. We don't do contracts. If you don't want to be with us, we don't want to, it is, I'm not going to force you into no relationship. I told you this about community. I'm not going to force anybody into a relationship. If you don't see the value and you don't see how to leverage it, and you don't see that, then it's just not a fit. So,
girl, this ain't like sleeping with the enemy. We ain't trying to keep you in the house locked up, keeping the cans turned a certain way. We not doing that to you. Okay, when you want to go, you can go.
We're fine, no hard feelings or anything, but
we would love for you to stay, but if you got to go, you got to go.
You got to go.
And then I'm glad you brought up the fact about how the affordability.
Yeah, because when this particular network host, like I was saying, she was locked into a contract. She was getting towards the end of that, and in that experience did not have as good of an experience with what she was looking for as far as ROI. She was doing it for a specific purpose in business. And again, I feel like going back to our approach as far as community and network is very different. Like, I think from not just having a transactional basis, we take your subscription and you're on the thing and that's it. We don't operate like that. And so what happened was, that contract ended. I said, hey, why don't you come over, because it's pretty much a fraction of what you were doing over there. And she's been happy ever since. And as a matter of fact, has gotten sales because of her show. And she was like, I hadn't experienced that the whole time I was with the other. But it's different, like the makeup and even how we have your mind when you're coming in, the mindset as far as the community and how we set the tone for how we want people to think about not only the network, but about how you're showing up on the network and how you're all of that matters. All of that matters.
And I'm glad you brought up that part about her making sales, because this isn't just about somebody that just wants a talk show.
Right.
This isn't just about, the content creators. We focused on that. But this is also a place, there's a home for those who have businesses, who have an expertise. Yeah. And you have a platform to showcase that expertise that can drive up your business. Your consultants and coaches and all these other different folks, real estate folks, all kind of different people. This is also a great platform for you.
Absolutely. And it's a great, like you mentioned, consulting and coaches is a great thing to add to packages, because you got to remember, you're leveraging something just like we're leveraging our time as a network. You're leveraging as a content creator and a TV host, you're leveraging too, because not many have this opportunity. So then you can go out and say, hey, no, I can package this. I can highlight, I can feature, I can do all of this because I have a platform. I have something that everyone can't say they have. Everybody has Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Everybody has that. Anybody that doesn't have it, right? If they don't have it, they can't have it, right?
People, grandmas got it.
Literally.
When I saw a little girl the other day, she wasn't even in kindergarten, and she was doing a live a makeup review. Okay, talking about Fenty Beauty, and she only like 4 years old. I said, for real though.
Oh
For
my
real.
gosh, that's super. Oh, I'm glad you brought up kids. Our youngest, this is a fun fact. Our youngest network host is 9, and
Oh
she's a
wow.
little chef, and she does like this whole healthy food thing for kids.
So
And
you
I know,
lost
yeah,
healthy. Healthy.
I'm like, oh man, but I'll have my son watching, and she typically will do because she came over from she typically would do the YouTube shows, and she wanted more reach, and so that's what we're doing with her. But she also is like I can't remember the names of the movies. There were a few kid movies that she's the voice. Like we would know that I can't remember the name right now, but she was a voiceover.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, in a couple of some mainstream movies that we all would know if I could remember the name of it. But yeah, she's one of our youngest hosts. But that just tells you too, like the type of like who we're attracting. Going back to brand, when you want to work with specific people or want them part of your community, just making sure that your brand is resonating with who you say you want, because that's who you're going to attract. People like Tanya, amazing leader, like all the way down to a young lady, young little girl at 9 years old being in platforms and mainstream on movies doing voiceovers. We have all of that kind of stuff going on, and that's that you're in good company. So you want to also be in good company when you start looking at community. That's why I will never look at this like a transaction. And if it comes even to the place of someone coming in and it's like you are just totally the opposite of everything we represent, I have no problem saying maybe we're not the right fit. I can refer you somewhere else. Because I do care about that part. I care about the community. I care about the synergy in the community and about the growth of not only just the network, but every network host that's a part of it.
See, sister friends, sister friends, sister friends. You see these nuggets that was dropped on you, nuggets, girl, nuggets, nuggets, and I'm not talking about chicken. Nuggets, nuggets, and I'm not talking about catfish.
Right.
Nuggets, nuggets.
I'm hungry.
You know, girl, that's what I'm talking about, the food. And see, there's no excuses. You just heard from Keisha, 9 years old, a 9 year old out here handling her business and doing this. And then you got me who ain't got no kind of sense up here handling the business. So you can do this too. You can do this too. And this has been such a wonderful and so many of the nuggets been dropped. We had to do a two-part for y'all. Two-part. Okay, you didn't get just one but two, and people paying money for this knowledge. People paying good money to get this information. So y'all need to, Keisha, please tell them, tell the sister friends, how can they get in contact? How can give them the rundown of where to find Pink Icing, KP Media TV. Just give them the rundown, the lowdown, the all the way around.
Yes, yes. So I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible on how to find us, because I know every time people get to this part, it's like, wait, where's she at? So you can definitely, if you're interested in being considered to become on the network as a TV host, the easiest thing to do, shoot me an email. You can reach me. It's Keisha, but it's spelled Kisa, like Lisa.
It's Kisa, y'all. Kisa. She playing games with y'all.
Yeah, so it's Kisa and then K at getpinkicing.com. So you can shoot me an email if you're interested in coming on the network. We also, if this is easier for you, we do have KP Media TV Facebook page. You can always message us through the Facebook page. That might be even easier. So go on Facebook, KP Media TV. It'll come up. We have a business page, and all of our, TV hosts, their shows also broadcast there. So you can do that, and then you can just literally message us there if you're interested as well. So those are, I want to say, the two easiest ways to get in contact.
Okay, y'all. Y'all heard it straight from Keisha's mouth. Okay. So don't be coming and DMing me 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning talking about Tanya friend, sister friend, hook me up with Keisha. No. Pay attention. Pay attention. That's part one right there. But always, Keisha, it has been an absolute pleasure. you know that you are a forever sister friend on the show. Y'all, she's an honorary sister friend on the show because she not only owns the table, she is building tables for other women to have a seat at. Don't drag your lawn chair, your folding chair. Don't do any of that because you have a place at this table because we own it. So until we see each other again, my sister friends, I leave you today. We leave you today with peace, love, and happiness. And make sure you reach out to Miss Keisha so you can get your own show. I still want you to watch this one, but get your own. All right, you guys take care and be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.